Well, 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 it begins. It's Wednesday, September 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Bob Harris. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel. And holy smokes! It's week one. It's time to go on the hot seat. But first, FootballDiehards.com is the website. We appreciate you joining us here every Wednesday on the YouTube channel. This time, also Saturdays at noon for the Ask Me Anything live stream. We're going to take a lot of questions today, I'm quite sure. And I'm fine with that as well. In a solo edition, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and then the YouTubey stuff like the like button. If you wouldn't mind, or if you don't like, hit the dislike button. I'm fine with that. I'll go ahead and do it first. I've disliked me. Hello, Jacob. Thanks for coming in. Hi, Jim. Hi, Golf Boy. Robert Dame. Hello. Brian Larkin. Pat V. Glad everyone could make it. We'll get into the questions here momentarily. Just get caught up. Hi, Andrea. Thanks for coming. Andrea coming off some crushing drafts. She's been destroying her competition. Hope not everybody got all my shares of Cooper Kupp. So we'll start out with the news. The top news of the day, Cooper Kupp ruled out for week one. Not a huge surprise. I will say this, in the back rooms, the people are chattering. The chatterers are chattering away, and all kinds of rumors are floating around out there about the seriousness or potential seriousness of this issue. The fact that he traveled to Minnesota from LA, which is a big city. I'm told they have many doctors there. The fact that he would go to Minnesota to visit some kind of specialist, and I've heard a wide range of rumors on that. I'm not going to get into the rumors. Needless to say, there's a wide range of outcomes here. We'll be watching this carefully, but Sean McVay has already said that, opening the season on IR is possible, and we may find out about that by the end of the week. So we'll be looking for that situation. And, it's just hard to say how it's going to play out, right? Hopefully, you hear me talk about this a lot. Hello, Mr. Scampers. You hear me talk about this a lot. The stories we're talking about in September are not necessarily the stories we'll be talking about in October. I'm hoping that's the case with Cooper Kupp. I hope we're talking about a whole different story with him. And with Travis Kelce, who is listed officially as questionable for Thursday Night Football, going up against the Detroit Lions in Kansas City. Get your Noah Gray out there. I know many of you in the Scott Fish Bowl. Somebody drafted him in my league. Somebody drafted Noah Gray. I think it was the man, Brian Quinlan. Anyway, so be prepared to deal with, and so I know there'll be questions about, we know everyone's missing practice, guys. We'll get to everybody. There's the injury report up on FootballDiehards.com. News notes, the team notes that I put out every week covers a lot of this information. So there'll be plenty to go through, and we'll get to the questions here momentarily. A couple other things. Joe Burrow looking like he's trending in a good direction. Practiced fully today. Seems like he'll be good to go. Mark Andrews as well. Sounds like Terry McLaurin also trending in a positive direction. Not a lot of information on Doubs and Watson. Doubs has been dealing with this issue for a little while. Watson, it's a new issue, so we'll see what happens there. And Jackson Smith and Jigba seems likely to play. Josh Dobbs likely to start at quarterback. Makes sense getting the veteran in there over the rookie Clayton Tune, but we'll find out. Nothing official there yet either. So, lots of things going on. Not as robust an injury report as we'll get, as we head into the season, but robust enough for week one and few surprises like Watson, as we mentioned. So we'll get on all of that. I'll start getting into the questions here. Odell or Duverney? You get yards for kick returns. What do you really expect from Devin Duverney? Just the kick return yardage? Is that enough? Because I don't know what his role in the receiving game is going to be other than, not in the top three. I'd probably go with one of the top three receivers on the team. I think Odell Beckham was going to be that. I almost feel like I get it, and maybe it depends on how the return yardage works, right? If your return yardage is super robust, then sure, I would go that way. I'd probably rather have someone with a role in the offense, and I'd go Beckham. It sounds like he's had a really strong camp. I feel like I'm outsmarting myself if I went Duvernay. But again, Jacob, if the return yardage is so vast that you feel like, you're avoiding a zero, I'm fine with that. I'd probably play Odell. Half-point PPR league, Higbee versus Seattle or Freiermuth versus San Francisco. I like what Freiermuth did this summer. I like the steps forward that offense made. I think Higbee is going to be a great play. Should be very busy against Seattle. I think the safe, they're both fairly safe, right? sometimes these are, again, trying not to outsmart myself. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I have them ranked probably right almost consecutively. I'm going to take a slight lean to Higbee just based on the matchups because they are that close. So I'm going to go ahead and go Higbee there, Robert Grimm. I hope everyone's drafted. If you haven't drafted, I know Mike Dempsey has a draft tonight. All my drafts ended over the weekend. I was done drafting, but also I realized I'm in way too many drafts. That's a fact. So I have had all my drafts. I want to say it's well over 30 leagues I have to manage, and that seems like way more than I wanted. Pat V, Tua versus the Chargers or Watson versus Cincinnati. I'm probably on this one following my draft rankings. I had Tua ahead of Watson. I'm probably going to stick with that. Cincinnati plays some reasonably tough defense. The Chargers are not horrible against the deep pass. They're horrible against the run. But I'm still going to go with Tua. I'm going to go with that playmaking upside and the huge playmakers on the outside and kind of wait and see. The reports on Watson were not super enthusiastic over the course of the summer, and maybe and they were on Tua, and he's got great weapons. So I'm probably going to give a shot on Tua and wait and see what happens. I'm still optimistic about Watson, but maybe I'd like to see it a little bit. I'm feeling a little more skeptical just after what has reportedly not been a super on point. What was the complaint about Watson last year, or what we perceived to be the issue was, he's rusty, hasn't played in over a year, and so okay, so now he's had the last month of the season last year, an entire offseason this year, and he comes into training camp, and by all accounts, it hasn't been fantastic. I'd like to see a little bit. I do think the upside is there. We've seen him be a top 5 quarterback in the past. I'm hoping he regains that form. But I think Tua is a guy who has that in him as well. You have obviously there are injury concerns. People are worried. I'm not as worried about the injuries as I'm worried about the perception of injuries with him, right? He might get hurt. Also, he might just take a hard hit and everyone will be so panicky that they might be overly cautious with him, right? There will be a hue and cry. Maybe the league office will say, keep him in that tent. So, I get there are concerns with him. I'm going to play that upside of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And look, I like some of the pieces in Cleveland too. I just don't want to overstate it. It is stress time. I'm feeling the stress already on some of these. They're already tough, right? And so just some general thoughts in week 1. You're sitting here, and I know it's easy for us to sit here and say, play your studs. Well, some of your studs aren't going to play, right? And you're going to have some hard decisions. Or you're going to have some like the Freiermuth Higbee one, which to me is a great one. Or even this Tua Watson. It's just situations where you've drafted guys that are close together, and we all have those decisions to make. So eager to work through those, but it is tough when you have these close calls. With Kelce out, Jason Wilson has to decide between Dulcich versus the Raiders or Okonkwo versus the Saints. I think I'd lean Dulcich, but you want to watch out. He was not at practice today for personal reasons, not an injury. Have heard some really great things about Dulcich, right? Especially recently. And one that really stuck out to me was Peter Schrager on Good Morning Football. Last week spent 5 minutes talking about Dulcich as a player that's going to come out of nowhere, a sleeper star, right? Why would he spend 5 minutes talking about this guy? Well, oh yeah, wait a minute. Peter Schrager's really good friends with Sean Payton. They work on the same network all last year, and they talk a lot behind the scenes. And so I'm guessing he heard something from Sean Payton, or maybe a lot of something. We've heard that talk about you. You're going to hear more Joker talk. Cordero Patterson also the Joker now. Apparently, everyone's the Joker. Do they have to wear this stuff on their face? I don't know. But I think they're just suggesting a unique role. Talked to Parker Gabriel from the Denver Post about Dulcich a week ago or about last weekend. He was really enthusiastic, talked about him. And I think it's interesting because we saw more Adam Troutman on the field more during the preseason and being fairly productive as well. But the people who seem to be in the know are convinced that Dulcich is the guy you want to have. He's going to be the guy that's splitting the seam down the middle. We'll see. Jerry Jeudy was on the practice field today, so it's possible he could play this week, but I don't think that really keeps me off Dulcich. Okonkwo, look, we all love him, right? He was the darling of all our eyes, and then DeAndre Hopkins showed up, and we all kind of jumped off the bandwagon a little bit. We'll find out if we should or shouldn't have. It's a pretty tough matchup against the Saints. So I'm probably going to go with Dulcich, assuming all is well. Charles Davis. In PPR, I need one from Jordan Addison versus Tampa Bay. Gabriel Davis at New York Jets, and Treylon Burks at New Orleans. Thank you, Charles, for putting in the teams. I appreciate that. At this point in the week, I maybe not be up to speed on the matchups as well as I will be by the time we hit Saturday, although I have been digging into them. But if you put them in the chat, it'll help kind of facilitate a little quicker questions and answers. Not quicker questions, quicker answers. Can you guys believe it's week 1? What the hell happened to the offseason? There is no offseason. It's gone. Charles Davis. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to probably put him in the order you want. Treylon Burks worked today fully. And so I don't want to just like totally be out on the Tennessee passing attack for no reason. I mean, they're going to be run heavy, but it's a fairly tough matchup. The Gabe Davis, pretty tough matchup against the Jets. Addison, not the easiest matchup. I'm going to go in the order you have them, I think. I think the real question for me is between Davis and Burks. Which one would I really take? Let me just double check. I'm going to refer to the rankings on this one, just to make sure I'm not totally out of line. Sometimes I like to spitball. Sometimes I like to check. Yeah. I'm going with that order. I had it exactly where I wanted it. Imagine that. Watson, it does both mismatches. Yep. The Joker. Like, what team are you on? Whose depth chart are you on, the Joker? In a full PPR, choose 2 out of 4 for running back and flex. Mattison, Aiyuk, Khalil Herbert, and Mostert. So I want to play Mostert because, as I mentioned, the Chargers, I don't know that they've done a ton to improve their rushing defense. They were easy marks last year. So I want to get Mostert in there. I'm probably going to play, Chicago's playing Green Bay. Madison's playing. Oh, man. This is really tough because I'd like to get Aiyuk in there. I'm going to probably play the 3 running backs and wait and see. There's enough volume there, right? Like, I used to have a law of flexology, and I talked about it on the radio. The first law of flexology is the feature back over the wide receiver. I think we've come to a point where I hardly ever get to say that because there just aren't that many feature backs. I think all these guys are feature backs, or at least lead backs, leaders of committees, the next best thing to feature backs. I do love Aiyuk's upside. Maybe this isn't the matchup that I want to push him in there ahead of running backs. Andrea needs 2 wide receivers, St. Brown, Chris Olave, Devontae Smith. That is a horrible problem to have. I'm probably ranking them in that order. I know Casey Joyner might prefer Devontae Smith over Olave. I'm going to go in that order, Andrea. Let me just double check against the rankings, but I think that's the direction I'm going. Boy, you've left yourself a hellish weekly decision there. I mean, there's, hellish yes and no, right? There is not really a wrong answer. That is the order I'm going to play them in, Andrea. St. Brown, Olave, Smith. PPR flex, Addison or Antonio Gibson. See, Antonio Gibson, not a feature back. Maybe like a receiving asset. Totally split. I'm probably going to go Addison there. That one is very close as well, though. Dame Overboard has a fun one here. Dion Jackson versus Jacksonville. Bigbsy versus Indianapolis, or CEH tomorrow. Right? So Damon Watson is thinking CEH for a little fun if Kelce sits. I mean, I suppose it's possible. I mean, I'm probably not going to go that far. I'm going to probably just keep it simple week 1. I'm a simple man with simple needs. I'm going to play Dion Jackson. We'll see if Zach Moss is ready. He's, limited in practice, coming off the broken arm. Sounds like it's possible he'll be ready, but, hasn't practiced a lot the last month. I think I'll give Dion Jackson this one shot. I love Tank Bigsby, and I think it seems like all the linebackers are going to be back for Indianapolis. Shaquille Leonard is practicing fully. Someone else got cleared today. Who else got cleared? I'd have to look. I think cleared out of the concussion protocol altogether is what I'm thinking. Let me try that a different way. There it is. Who was it? Whoever else it was totally cleared. I'd have to look deeper in my notes. But yeah, I'm probably gonna go Jackson, Bigbsy, CEH in that order. If you have the hunch on CEH, I get it. I'm probably not going that far. Jason Wilson's also out of these 5 in a PPR. Which 4 do you like to start? Dotson versus the Cardinals, Sky Moore versus Detroit, DJ Moore versus Packers, James Cook versus Jets, Breece Hall versus Bills. I could take a wait and see with Breece Hall. That would probably be my approach. So I'd probably sit him and wait and see. So here's the thing about the Jets running back situation. And I feel like we're maybe overthinking this a little bit because they throw us out that little bit of hope, right? Oh, it's going to be a split. We're going to, Robert Saleh said it, they're both going to be available. But he's also said they're going to play it safe. We've also heard that Breece Hall is still dealing with some soreness. We've also heard he's still very fast. Aaron Rodgers said he was hit 21 miles an hour on a pass reception. But I don't think he's whole. I think I'm going to go. So here's what Mike Dempsey and I have been talking about this on the Football Diehards on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. You should listen to that if you have Sirius. Also, you should go on the On Demand. Great Allison Chains and Friends fantasy football draft last night. I loved it. Had a really good time. But I think the money they gave Dalvin Cook is not just hey, come in and split the load money. It's like real money. It's like running back 1 money. And I'm not saying that he's going to be running back 1 all year or even early in the year, like a true running back 1, but at best it's like a 50-50, right? And so I kind of want to just, in general, this question aside, Jason, and I do think it's a pretty easy call for me on this one. I probably start all those guys and just wait and see because I just don't have a good feeling about what Breece Hall is going to do, despite some of the more optimistic outlooks. I mean, I remember feeling really optimistic about J.K. Dobbins, and I don't want to sit here and make direct comparisons between players' injuries and their recoveries because everyone is different, right? Breece Hall, that he's not opening the season on PUP is a super positive thing. They did kind of go light on him in practice, didn't start practicing until a couple weeks ago. So neither did Dalvin Cook for that matter. So, but I do think Cook is there for a reason. Brian Larkin says, as a Cooper, help. I've overrun my thing. As a Kelce owner, I picked up Higbee. He should get most of Kupp's vacated targets. I don't know if he'll get most of them, but he'll get some of them, and he was already getting a lot. Even with Kupp there, he gets Kupp gone there for part of the year. He's still got 100 targets. I think he'll get his either way, but you're right. There will be vacated targets, and he will be available to get them. Royal Slade. Hey, hello, Slade. Hope you enjoy the replay. Doobie, DK scoring, A-Chain versus the Chargers or Warren versus San Francisco is the reality where Pitt wins. Oh, I see where you're coming from. I'm going to probably, so A-Chain did practice fully today, so he's in a good spot. It's a really good matchup, but he hasn't practiced for a little while. I'd probably take a chance on Warren here until I get a good feel for what the split is. I do prefer the matchup, though, so I don't know that it's so far off. Let me just double check my ranks here and make sure, and just see how far apart they are. Because, that's the determining factor, right? It's a pretty tough matchup. I'm going to probably go Warren here. It's probably fairly close because of the matchup, or closer because of the matchup than I like. I just want to see A-Chain a little bit coming off the injury. It's a shoulder injury. I am encouraged that he practiced fully today. Remember, there is no Jeff Wilson, so that's, clears a little bit of the pathway for him. Also, Myles Gaskin now in Minnesota. Salvin Ahmed practiced fully today, so, he'll be available, but I don't see him being a primary piece there. It's a really good matchup. That's the thing, right? So, if you're feeling that, they're not so far apart that if you felt strongly about A-Chain, Doobie, that I would tell you not to, but I'm probably going with Warren in this one. Mr. Scampers, what moves have you made since Scott Fishbowl opened today? Any stashes you're looking at? I dropped Jameis for Brissett. That's one. I think Josh Dobbs is probably a popular pickup today. Dion Jackson, a popular pickup today. There's probably some tight ends. No, there's probably no tight ends. Everyone has all the tight ends. I did see Mike Gesicki's off the injury report. I'm very excited about that. I haven't made any moves on my Scott Fish yet, but I have seen some moves being made. And I think dropping Jameis for Brissett is probably a wise course of action. Graham F. Hello, Bob. I have Engram. And Juwan Johnson at tight end. Should I drop Juwan for Higbee? And if yes, Higbee or Engram this week? So I feel like you're rearranging the deck furniture here. It depends on what you want, right? Like I think Engram, my concern with Engram is not that he's not going to be good, because I think he will. He'll be fine. But there's another mouth to feed there. And I do think this offense is growing, but kind of feeling the same a little bit about Christian Kirk. Or they're going to be the targets there that we saw last year. Part of this is, Mike Dempsey talking and others about how good Zay Jones has looked, right? Like, is Zay Jones going to demand some of the targets? And are we going to have like weeks where, maybe it feels like Ridley is going to be a guy that's a constant. Then maybe the others kind of week to week are a little dicey. So dropping Juwan for Higbee is perfectly fine. I do like Juwan for his upside. I've also liked Juwan for his upside the last 3 years. So there's that. But he does seem to be doing really well. And Derek Carr seems to have great chemistry with him. So I'm reluctant to drop Juwan, but if I'm being honest here, Higbee is a safer play. Do we think a running quarterback will dump off to Dion Jackson? I don't know that he will. I mean, I don't know that Anthony Richardson is like going to be dumping off. He may, but I think, at this point, unless there's a Zach Moss, I think Dion Jackson's going to be running the ball as well as catching it. And maybe Evan Hull plays more of that receiving role until we get Zach Moss back. So I don't know. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be very interesting early on, right? Is he going to throw some interceptions? Probably so. Is he going to run the ball a hell of a lot? Probably so. So I don't think a running quarterback is going to dump off to Dion Jackson. I think Dion Jackson is going to be running and maybe benefiting from having that running quarterback in RPOs and having defenders totally confused at the mesh point. That's the optimistic view there. Hello, Albert. Half point PPR. Pick 2, Miles Sanders, Alexander Mattison, David Montgomery. I'll probably go Montgomery and Sanders on this one. Again, Mattison, I'm fine with Mattison. I just feel like, two things. Doobie asked about the dump-offs. I think there will be some for Miles Sanders. David Montgomery, I feel pretty good about this offense and the overall running back production. I would play Jahmyr Gibbs too, and I see the next question coming up, the Dobbins or Jahmyr Gibbs versus KC. I'm probably playing Jahmyr Gibbs there, but I think there's a pathway. The concern for me with Alexander Mattison is not Alexander Mattison; it's the offense, which has been really pass heavy. Will he get the kind of carries we're looking for? So that's my concern. They're going up against Tampa Bay, so the opponent does not horrify me. But I'm going Sanders and Montgomery here. Let me just double check something on the side. A lot of people like Mattison better. Boy, that's a hair splitter. They're all like, again, we're looking at 3 guys that are like locked in at running back 2 territory. Maybe I'm a little keener on Montgomery than I should be. I'm still going Miles Sanders and David Montgomery. I think you can make a really strong argument for Mattison. My argument is they don't throw as much. J.B. Frost, Dobbins versus Houston. He's been not very good against the run. Jahmyr Gibbs versus KC. I'm playing Jahmyr Gibbs. I think I want to say on Fantasy Pros, the ECR right now is like they're consecutive. They're both like at the tail end of the running back ones, or if I'm not mistaken, maybe just inside the running back 2 territory. So I'm playing Gibbs because I love Gibbs. If you want to play Dobbins, probably going to be not splitting as much as Jahmyr Gibbs. Was Dobbs on waivers, Mr. Scampers? Oh my. Brian Larkin, 6-point passing. Choose one quarterback: Herbert, Cousins, or Goff. I'm probably going to play my depth chart right now and go Herbert. I mean, and that hello, Melissa. That's the thing, right now. I mean, you could have a different philosophical approach to this, like, especially in September. Like, we don't see normalization. We see some, like, really weird things happen offensively for the first month of the season. I know people say play your studs. I don't know that we exactly know who our studs are. We know who we drafted to be our studs, right? And so in this case, Herbert, Cousins, and Goff. I do think that Miami secondary minus Jalen Ramsey is maybe the one I want to pick on a little bit, but I mean, Cousins is no slouch, right? Going against Tampa Bay, Goff going against the Chiefs, and what should be I know the implied total there is pretty high. What is it, 46.5? I want to say. Let me double check. 54. It's gone up since I last looked. So that's a fair amount, right? 54. So there's something to be said there. It is on the road, though. There's concerns about that guy on the road, that Goff guy, or there were last year. So I'm going to probably go in the order you have them. Would I cut Marquise Brown for Kadarius Toney in PPR? I have more confidence in Marquise Brown's role than I do in Kadarius Toney's role, so I probably would not do that. I also, though, have way more confidence in Kadarius Toney's quarterback than I do in Marquise Brown's. I think the Cardinals are going to be playing from behind a hell of a lot. Boy, I'm going Marquise Brown over Kadarius Toney, especially this first week back, right? I mean, it's been all summer. Kadarius Toney has not practiced until this week. I just wonder what kind of role. Like, he only needs a few plays. I mean, there is that. Marquise Brown also limited, by the way, in practice too, although I don't see anyone too concerned. And Toney's not limited at all. So if that's a concern, Boofy, I could sit here and make an argument for you that, like, I know Kadarius Toney's off the injury report, or at least did not get an injury designation, practiced fully. And he's playing Thursday night, so I'll know that he's active and I'll know what his status is. And maybe I won't be sure about Marquise Brown until later in the week. Maybe you won't. Maybe some of this depends on tomorrow's practice. See if Marquise Brown is limited. But I'm sitting here talking myself into a Kadarius Toney, who I absolutely don't want to play this week. Not because I don't think he'll do well, but I mean, it's just a tough situation there. There's a handful of guys. I think you want to talk about, like, say the top, I think the desired top three, right? There's a desired top three in there. It's Sky Moore, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and I mean, probably Toney at the tail end of that. But you also have Rashee Rice there. You also have Justin Watson there. You also have Justin Ross there. Richie James is there. I mean, there's a lot of pieces. So, look, I can sit here and go in circles. I am running my mind in circles because I do think the Marquise Brown injury issue is a little bit concerning. So maybe you give that till tomorrow in the middle of the day. If you see Marquise Brown limited or not practicing again and you want to play it safe, Toney is. And I can't believe I'm telling someone to play it safe with Kadarius Toney. This seems oxymoronic. I got Jake Ferguson and Jaleel McLaughlin. Oh, okay, there you go, Kevin Payne. Those are some good pickups. Jake Ferguson, all the buzz from Dak Prescott. Jaleel McLaughlin, I have heard things. Parker Gabriel told me this, that he's going to have a role. And Parker Gabriel, by the way, thinks we are not going to see as much Javonte Williams early on. Great that he's healthy and great that he'll be available, and we may see him start to get some run. But I think in general, it's going to be more Pirine and a fair amount of McLaughlin, who turns out he's a little bit of a playmaker. Dame Overboard going back and forth on whether to start Purdy versus Pitt for Flora Richardson. Ooh, I'm probably in this case playing Richardson behind Tua. Is this a Scott Fishbowl Superflex? I do like Purdy an awful lot. I have liked him all along. I felt like he was going to play. Maybe not the ideal matchup for him. Pretty good matchup for Richardson. I'm probably going to go that way and see what happens. You're in a good situation, though, Dame. I'm going Richardson for sure. Behind Tua as my super flex, and hope he runs a lot. TJ Slaughter. I might have slaughtered that name. Dion Jackson available in my league. Should I drop Penny and pick him up? So the Philadelphia Eagles put out their depth chart today. There are 4 backs listed as co-starters. 4. All their backs are listed as co-starters. The depth chart shenanigans. So, like, I've been in on Penny all along, so I'm loath to drop him, but Dion Jackson has a more definable role. Short term, at least. Like, we don't know how long Jonathan Taylor's going to be out or what's going to happen when he's ready to return from IR. We don't know what Zach Moss is going to do to this dynamic when he returns. It could be as early as this week. But hell if I know what's going on in Philadelphia. I mean, I do like Penny because sometimes I revert back to the earliest things. The first things I hear end up being the truest things. I keep hearing, I've heard over the course of the summer a lot of positives about Penny. We saw Kenneth Gainwell get a lot of time, and as the season went on, you started hearing people talk more about Kenneth Gainwell. Boston Scott also listed as a co-starter, by the way, along with DeAndre Swift. So 4 mouths to feed there. I think over the long term, I'd probably rather have Penny running behind that offensive line than Dion Jackson, in a convoluted, murky committee that might totally get blown out of the water by Jonathan Taylor if he suddenly becomes happy and healthy. But him becoming happy and healthy both are not probably high on my range of possible outcomes. By the way, I'm Bob Harris. If you just got here, hi, it's week 1. How are you? Melissa Harris has a live draft in 30 minutes. If you have any specific questions, Melissa, get them in now. I know you'll crush it. So does Scampers. So does Dame. We're all with you. Good luck. But yeah, this is week 1. I'm Bob Harris. FootballDiehards.com is the website. Go there. Our flash update premium content is up. New articles going up. Jamie Calandro's DraftKings cash play articles about to go up. We have our Brad Crew Stardom Sid'em already up. John Lob's DraftKings sheet of knowledge already up. I put up Wednesday's injury report before I started this. We do the injury report every single day there. Give you updates. I have a big pile of updates that I've been working on that I'll put up overnight for you. The team notes are there. There's a lot of information in the team notes. Pack a lunch, kids. Tons of stuff. We'll have the video content ongoing. I'll be on the Sirius show tomorrow night. Thursday, it's 3 hours. 3 long hours I'll be there. We'll start at 9. We'll go until midnight. We'll carry you through the game. So if you get tired of listening to the talking heads on the game, Mike Dempsey and I will be there to talk you through and talk about the things we love to hear about, fantasy football and the fantasy skill positions that you so love. We'll have some guests on too. Gary Davenport will be joining us. I'll have another guest on as well. Friday will be 2 hours, 10 to, 9 to 11? I can do math. Saturday night, Football Diehards, we go back to NFL radio, 8 to 11 every Saturday night. It's simulcast on the Fantasy Channel. You can't miss it. I'll be back here on Saturday doing this, same thing, answering your many, many questions with a little more clarity, right? Like, I'm not going to lie. Wednesdays, and we'll do this differently. I'll have guests on, but I figured this week there's a lot going on, so I figured I'd be just doing a ton of questions. So we'll get back to those. Paul Stella wants to know Miles Sanders or Devontae Smith in the flex for a full PPR. Probably going to go Sanders there. I feel like he is a true feature back. I love Devontae Smith. He's a great play. Philadelphia, New England. I'm probably going to go Miles Sanders there. Like, I have concerns about Carolina in terms of their offensive line, but I do think Miles Sanders will get the opportunities. Opportunities is where the points come from. I think Devontae Smith will have some up and down games. Although, again, Casey Joyner really keen on the Philadelphia wide receivers. Can't tell you enough. Would Hollywood's hammy injury and overall offensive shenanigans drop him behind Zay Flowers versus Houston? Yes. Yes, it would. JSC, interesting names available in my league. How should I approach Jameson Williams and Kyler Murray? Woo! So patiently, you're not going to get anything out of him for a little while. Like Jameson Williams, we know how long it's going to be, right? 6 weeks. I've been asking myself this question. I was talking to someone last night about this very issue. Do you hold on to him? I mean, we haven't seen a lot from him, but what we've seen has been pretty tantalizing, right? So, and obviously came in with great pedigree in the draft. Just hasn't put it together. Hasn't had the health or now the availability. He does get to go back to the facility like 3 weeks into the suspension and start working with the team and doing some stuff. I think he's a hold. Kyler, I'm less certain about. I mean, I think you should hold on to him, especially in your super flex kind of leagues. And and by the way, it's not. But I was looking at my Scott Fishbowl. I'm sorry, I'm getting scatterbrained here. But Dane mentions not Scott P. Stupid negative points. I was looking at the Scott Fishbowl and like the projected points. I'm going, oh my God, everyone is scoring so many points in this league. So looking forward to that. Where are you taking Kelce in a best ball? I probably am taking Kelce still, but probably only if he slides into the second round. I feel a lot better about is he going to miss a game? Yes. Could it be more? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, his tendency is not to miss games. It's been since 2013. He's missed, some meaningless games, but due to injury, last game he missed was 2013. It was bad. He missed like a ton of games. So I feel like I want to see if Kelce falls into the second round. I'm such a cheapskate. I'd like to see him fall. I don't know that he will. So, Melissa, you'll have to watch that a little bit. Where are you drafting, Melissa? I'd be interested to know. Hollywood participation the rest of the week obviously affects the decision, and it does. And that's the thing about the Wednesday. There's some things we're just finding out about. A lot of circumstances, right? Whether someone practiced fully. Jerry Jeudy, I don't know that I really expect him to practice today. That he's on the field on a limited basis is pretty encouraging, right? And some other people that I expected to be practicing who aren't, or who are not practicing fully. So there'll be a lot to chew on the next couple days, and I hope you all come back on Saturday at noon Eastern time. Melissa's drafting third. That's too early for Kelce for me, Melissa. And what round are you drafting quarterback in a 6-person draft? In a 6-person draft? I'm probably waiting. I mean, I talked to Jim Coventry about this on the RotoWire stream today. Just in general, when to draft quarterbacks, when you want to. And I think my point is, what I've been doing and what I've been doing for a couple of years, I guess, is waiting until I get to that point where I don't love any of the other positional players, right? If there's most times your pick comes up and I love this guy. I want this guy. I love him. I'll take him. But if I get to the point where I kind of go, I don't really like anybody, I usually use that to go for my quarterback. And there's a whole wide range of times and places that players are available, right? If it's early in the draft, that super tier, the super freak tier of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts is available. But that next tier carries you through probably rounds 4, 5, 6, maybe into 7, depending on the draft. If this, and I like all those guys there. And if I get outside that, there's another tier I like that's going closer to the double-digit rounds, the Tua, Watson, Kirk Cousins kind of range. And then if I didn't get there, and I love the player, so I just try to hammer the value at each range until I get to a spot where I just go, I don't like anyone. I'll go quarterback here. And it could come early, right? It could come as early as round 2 or 3. And so don't be afraid to go if that's how you feel, Melissa. I mean, like you're going to be afraid. Slaughter as in blotter. Got it. Thank you. So back to Kyler Murray a little bit. There's some theories floating around out there. Do they play him at all? I think they've kind of tried to negate some of that, or I don't know if they tried to negate it. Maybe they're going to do it anyway. They named him captain. They talked about him being the face of the franchise. He's the leader of the team, all those things. The new staff is saying great things about him. I don't know if the staff has final say on this one. I said channeling my inner Bill Bidwell. Ooh. I'm going to have to take a shower after just channeling that. So I'm not sure what to make of Murray. Honestly, we'll take a wait and see approach there. I mean, if you have him on a roster, I'd probably try to keep him just to see what happens, because can be a valuable piece, especially if some of your other pieces get nicked up over the course of time, especially in the super flex. That'd be crazy. So that's tough. That one to me seems a little bit undefined there. Jameson Williams is an easy, no-brainer for me. I'm hanging on to him. I want to see what he's got if I got him, unless I run out of room on my roster. All these things are, going to be driven by what your needs are. And I can be pretty cutthroat, except in Dynasty. I can't release anybody in Dynasty. I have guys that haven't played for 5 years on some of my Dynasty teams. No, he's going to come back. Probably not. Brian Larkin, half-point PPR flex, Dameon Pierce or James Cook. I'm playing Dameon Pierce. And not that, James Cook is growing on me, but also the Jets defense is very tough. I wanted to mention this about the half point, and I think I've talked about this before, but my buddy JJ Zacharyson has something in his late round fantasy draft guide, that kind of laid out. And I know that there's people that think, there's a big difference. There's not a big difference in half point to full point. In fact, at the top of the rankings at all positions, it's a very, very minor change. There's almost no change at all in the final outcomes from PPR to half-point PPR. It's relative, right? I mean, I think our mind wants to say there are players who benefit more from the, who gain more from the non-pass, aspect or the half-point aspect. I don't know that there is. The high end doesn't suggest that. Down lower, there's a little more deviation, but up at the top, it's almost rock solid. There's not a ton of change from the rankings between the two scoring systems. All right, last draft tonight in a non-PPR. Stay chalky with CMC or Eckler at pick 3, or would I favor anyone else? I mean, I wouldn't shy away from the big name wide receivers. I mean, I'd be fine with CMC or Eckler also. I mean, some of their value is going to come from their receiving equity, just like the top receivers. So, would I consider Jefferson and Chase there? Yes. Would I consider Kupp there? No. I might be a little hurt here. Might be damaged here by the whole Cooper Kupp thing. Again, if you just tuned in, Cooper Kupp ruled out this week. Entirely possible. In fact, in the back of my head, the word likely is bing, 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 roaming around that he's going to open the season on IR. A lot of various rumors that I've heard that I shall not share with you because I do not know all the people involved. But, the range is ridiculously wide from this is super serious to this is just what it seems like, right? It's just like he's had a couple muscle pulls and he's trying to get that sorted out. So, but I do think the words today are not very encouraging in terms of short term. But I want to go back to something I said at the top of this. What are we going to be talking about in October? Does it matter as much what we're talking about in September? Talked a little bit about the volatility of September. There's going to be crazy stuff going on all September long, right? As the offense tries to play catch up with the defense, there's going to be people coming out of nowhere and scoring that have no business scoring, limiting the value of some of your favorite guys, or some of your favorite guys are going to maybe just not deliver as expected, and you're going to have those questions. Next week, I guarantee you, we're going to have questions here about, should I drop this guy who you invested significant draft, or somebody you invested significant draft capital in? It's just the nature of it. We are getting a little antsy and a little impatient. So, so those top two wide receivers would be on my radar, but so would CMC and Eckler. And so it sounds like, Jason, your preference is those two. I would do them in that order. And I don't favor anyone else, especially. I mean, you could have put Nick Chubb in that conversation. I think in a non-PPR, the belief is he won't catch passes. I think he will catch passes, but it won't matter because he's going to run like crazy. That offense is still going to. How did I see it put? Like, they're gonna let Deshaun Watson throw the ball, right? They definitely are. They need him to get the job done. But also, like, the offense is going to be there. I think the word was hitched to Nick Chubb. He's going to be very busy. So Nick Chubb will be in that conversation for me for sure. I'm just checking. I'm getting some more data on Cooper Kupp. The rumors still fly. This would be a big name person telling me things. And what they're telling me is there's no more information. So there you have that. Are we expecting Kenneth Walker versus the Raiders, or the Rams, I'm sorry, to get the majority of the work early in the season? I'm debating starting him or Christian Watson. If you missed it, Charles, Christian Watson a little nicked up. I would be watching the injury reports in Green Bay. Kenneth Walker healthy. I think you go back over the course of the offseason. This is what we do. We start trying to, we get these moments where we try to almost outsmart ourselves. Well, what have we been hearing consistently? What have I been hearing most consistently? Most consistently, I've been hearing a 60-40, 70-30 split for Walker with Charbonnet mixing in. That makes sense early in the season. It kind of meshes with the history of what Pete Carroll's done. If you go over the course of time from Carson to Penny to Walker, and now we have Walker and Charbonnet coming in. The guy who's the incumbent tends to get the bulk of the work until he can't. So I'm probably going in that direction. And like, I do think Christian Watson is an athletic freak, right? And the size, speed, and the playmaking ability. I like what I've seen from Jordan Love. So there's a lot to like there. But let's watch and see what we hear. I would let this. This is such a cop out. I hate that. This is my biggest problem on the Wednesday questions. I feel like I'm copping out, but a lot of times the answer is, let's wait and see on this. Let's let this one breathe a little bit with Christian Watson dealing with a hamstring. A little concerned about all that. So thanks for the question, Charles. And again, don't mean to cop out. I always try to give you an answer, the answer. But then I try to talk you to the range of possibilities that go with that answer, because it's never black and white, right? None of this is this or that, either or, right? I mean, we have to make this or that either or decisions, but these are not either or black and white circumstances. We're trapped in our prison of this or that, and it's very tough, right? So I think, in this case, I'll go ahead and give you the answer. I'm probably leaning Walker. Rams front line is, Aaron Donald notwithstanding, is not good, right? So I'm going to probably go Walker there. And, we'll see what Watson's health is. I might rethink this later in the week, but for now, Walker. Thank you, Charles, for the kind words. Do I feel the Packers, Steelers, maybe the Commanders take a big step forward this year? I think the Packers are going to be better than we expected, because I think Jordan Love's going to be better than, I don't know, better than I expected, because I expected to be kind of better than like what the perception is, right? Just because the guy goes away, the 4-time MVP was great. Wasn't great last year. Wasn't great every year, but I've been very encouraged by what I've seen. But I've said all along, I feel like the Packers have been a little more positive on Jordan Love than they've been letting on. And I think we're seeing signs of that in exhibition play. Should I start Pat Freiermuth or Sam Laporta this week? This one I feel pretty comfortable saying I would start Freiermuth, right? I get that it's a tougher matchup. And we'll see what, rookie tight ends. And I mean, I don't want to generalize here, because I think people are really keen on Laporta, but I think this is a pretty easy call for me. I'll take a wait and see on Laporta. Sounds like the Lions are going to use a lot of 2 tight end sets. We saw last year after TJ Hawkinson left, they did. But you've also got Jahmyr Gibbs there, who's going to be cutting into the pass load. I hope. By the way, going back to Jimmy's question, I do feel like the Steelers look like they're going to take a step forward. I think Kenny Pickett's looked fantastic this summer. He's got good skill position players around him, maybe an improved offensive line. And I think the Commanders, I don't know if they'll take a step forward. They're positioned to, but a lot is going to depend on Sam Howell, who probably of the quarterbacks here. I have, I have a good feeling, but not like it's just a good feeling. I don't know that I have a lot to hang my hat on. Now back to Freiermuth and Laporta. Freiermuth, easy call. For in part because what I was just saying about Kenny Pickett, he seems to be taking a step forward. Thank you, V. Rija, for coming. I appreciate you. I love you always coming to the show. And good luck. See you next week, or hopefully Saturday as well. Pete Olstrom, I need 2 out of these 3 for flex positions in a guillotine league. Kadarius Toney, Hodgins, or Detroit rookie tight end Laporta. I feel like so I want to play it as safe as I can in a guillotine league. I just have to not come in last, right? So I want to say like Hodgins feels like the safest play here to me. Like that feels dirty even saying it. I just again I don't want to overstate my expectations for Toney or understate them, but I mean they're not high. Hasn't practiced until for a month until this past week, right? And I like that he practiced fully, but is he going to be incorporated? Is he ready to put in a full load? I mean, he could really be, have a few dominant plays, and that might be enough to put you over the top. Let me just check something here on Hodgins. Check some projection here. I think Laporta is the one I would least want to play of this group, but I might be willing to play him. Can I remind you that Hodgins was wide receiver 36, 38 down the stretch last year? This is really a tough one. I'm probably gonna just like go totally not safe. I think like probably Toney and Laporta are the plays here. Just wait and see on what Hodgins can do. What do I think of Romeo Doubs? I like him an awful lot. The reports have been good. Pete, I feel like I'm copping out on that one. This has got to be the tail end. And for anyone out there, why would he have this decision? It's like tough in a guillotine. It's 18 teams, right? So, you're depending on where you're drafting, there could be some hard picks. And the idea is not to come in last place. So probably, if I felt like anyone in New York in that receiving core had a high floor, not named Darren Waller had a high floor, I'd be saying Hodgins because I love Hodgins. But I think the other 2 are maybe the better plays this week. I do love Romeo Doubs. I think the offseason news has been great, but I don't like the injury situation right now. It's not been really good. Are you hearing positive news on Elijah Moore this season? Let me tell you. Finally, a question I can answer unequivocally without going back and forth. This is the question I've been waiting 50 minutes for. Yes, I'm hearing positive news on Elijah Moore for this season. Super positive words. Like he's one of the top 3 pieces on this offense that they want to design the offense to go through. And that did not include Amari Cooper in that comment when I was told this. And pushed that comment back. Said, what about Amari Cooper? But even if you don't want to go that far and say, okay, this offense runs through Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, and Amari Cooper, fine. Elijah Moore is still going to be a big part of it. The plan is to use him all over the place and maximize his abilities. And he's a very talented player. Melissa Harris, big on the Packers. Jim Furry took Diggs and Josh Allen 1 and 2. Damien Harris went undrafted. I took Romeo Doubs with my last pick. Do you think Harris will get enough work to take him over Doubs and add to the stack? I think there are people who think so. I'm not entirely sold. I'd probably rather have Doubs. I think Harris will have games. It's going to be hard to pick when. I think Doubs may be a little more consistent producer when he's healthy. You're welcome, Steve Asham. Brian Larkin, if Kelce is clear to play, would you start him or Higbee? Of course, I hope he will be ruled out for week 1. I think I would be with you, Brian Larkin. I would hope he's ruled out. I hope this decision is made for me. Tyler Higbee is the safer play, right? Again, I don't want to, overstate my case here, but you've heard me say this. I tend to be injury agnostic, but I'm not injury agnostic when players are currently hurt. Kelce's hurt, even if he's cleared to play. It's not good. The talk is it's a bone bruise. It can be painful. I feel like this decision will be made for you, and I would never tell anyone to sit Kelce if Kelce's on the field. Detroit's defense, not stellar, right? So, but Higbee's probably a safer play this week. Kevin Payne, football tomorrow night. Let's go! How about Hopkins, Watson, or Beckham? If Watson was 100%, it'd probably be Watson, Hopkins, Beckham. In this case, it's Hopkins, Watson, Beckham, and watch Watson's status, right? That'd be my case. Like, I think Beckham is in a good spot, but, wait and see. Wait and see. I would rather wait and see how Beckham plays out. The reports from camp have been glowing. He's done a great job. He's excited, ready to roll. But I think Hopkins is going to get a ton of targets. I think Watson's going to be a huge playmaker. So my prediction for Thursday, if Kelce is out, missing players, do you see the Lions using the run game? They'll run a little bit. I don't know. Definitely an upset, but possible. I like this. I like the. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the kind words on the team. Hold on one. All right. Robert Farink, I'm with Brian. I hope Kelce's out. I think, like a lot of times that's what we're hoping for, that these decisions will be made for us, right? So I'm hoping that'll be the case too. So my prediction for Thursday is, even if Kelce's out, I'm probably going to lean to the Chiefs. I think they have enough firepower to get the job done just with Patrick Mahomes. But man, there is pieces missing from the D line. It's like totally true. I do see the Lions running a fair amount. They ran the ball pretty effectively at times. They have a great run blocking offensive line. So Robert, I don't want to be dismissive of the possibility of an upset. Week 1 is when an upset can happen, right? Kelce owner without a backup tight end, Musgrave likely, or Hunter Henry. Have heard really good things about Hunter Henry the last month. I might go that direction, but Musgrave's looked reasonably good as well. So wouldn't talk you out of that. I'd go Hunter Henry over Musgrave. Just seems like fewer mouths to feed there in New England. All right, got a few more minutes for a few more questions. If you have them, throw them into the chat. I will be back here Saturday, noon, probably with better answers. Or if not better answers, like more defined answers. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate you. One thing you didn't like that the Lions didn't play their starters in the preseason. But always on Saturday, hope to have better informed answers, right? I feel like we're still flying a little bit by the seat of our pants here. We're finding out some of the issues. Richard makes a good point here. Luke Musgrave with all the hamstring problems in Green Bay. I think I'd want to see how those hamstring issues play out. I mean, if it was both Watson and Doubs, or for some reason we feel like they're going to be limited, that would be fine as well. I'm still leaning Henry in this one. I think we may be a little overly dismissive of the Patriots offense based on how horrible they were last year. They have a coordinator this year. It's a change of pace for them. They're trying a new thing, an offensive coordinator, a play caller. And I think the tight end will be a factor there, and I think it'll be Hunter Henry. But you make a good point about Luke Musgrave. Live long and prosper. Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate everyone coming. Go back to the website, people. FootballDiehards.com. If you want to order up the premium content there, Brian Larkin mentioned the team notes. It's a lot of information there every week. To start the week, kind of sets the baseline, gives you everything you need to know to kind of get in, and they follow up with updates Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right into Sunday. Cover all the inactives. I'll be doing the pregame show again this year with Jeff Manns. So looking forward to that. We'll be doing some crosstalk with NFL Radio. My old buddy Steve Cohen and Robert Turbin will be on Sunday mornings is one segment of our show. Saturday night show, 8 to 11, will be on NFL Radio. That'll be simulcast on the Fantasy channel. So if you're calling in, you just call a different number. So there you go. Taysom Hill, Mr. Scampers. Totally Taysom Hill. He's a quarterback, but I'd probably play him. I don't know what to do with Trey McBride right now. I'm not sure what Zach Ertz is going to do. Sounds like he's not quite ready. So probably Hill over Trey McBride. Is there like any kerfuffle about like the designation, like them listing him as quarterback? I've not seen that. Not start sit, but is Pittman plus 2024, 2025 fifths for CeeDee Lamb fair? I think it's probably too much, but I might pay it just because I don't know what Pittman's going to be. Yes, Taysom questions are back. Enjoy the show. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate you guys. Everyone enjoy the game. I think I missed a question here. Where is the crossover line for flex? Dotson or which RB? I'm taking that down a little ways. I think we're all really excited about Dotson, and it's a great matchup against Arizona. Let me just see where I've got. Check my point projections, because that's a pretty good question. Are we overstating Dotson and his role? I've got him like kind of a wide receiver 3 role. So if I'm looking at running backs, I'm probably going down through Montgomery, Pacheco I play, James Cook I play, Mostert I play, Jamal Williams maybe, Javonte Williams maybe. I think it's probably in that 30-ish range. Brian Robinson, Khalil Herbert, probably in that range is where I'm looking at. So probably around the 30 to 32 range. Thank you guys very much for coming. I appreciate you, everyone who gives me time. We love doing this. I love doing this, and really gives me some good feedback and helps me understand what people are interested in, so I can adjust our content on the website and on the radio shows and on Saturday's live stream to suit your needs a little better. Because that's the goal here, man. Taking care of you guys, paying off your time and patience with me as I run through these things. And a lot of this is helping me formulate what my thoughts are and where my rankings are going to go as I talk through these things based on your questions. So totally appreciate that. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Look forward again. I'll be on the SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, 9 to midnight Thursday night, 10 to midnight Friday night, or no, 9 to 11. 10 to midnight. No, I'm like messing up my time zones already. It's like week 1 and I'm already messing up my time zones. 8 to 11 on Saturday, 10 to midnight on Friday, and it's 10 to 1 a.m. on Thursday, and that'll be going ahead on Monday. So there you have that. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for coming. Taysom Hill still tight end eligible and sleeper. Good to know. And yes, then it would be him. It's time. Taysom time. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. I'll see you on Saturday or somewhere in between there if you hear